Pushing Back the Shadows, support and awareness for mental health. Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Pushing Back the Shadows podcast. My name is Alex, I'm the founder of Pushing Back the Shadows. So today I was going to look at relationships and mental health, and to do this I thought it would be a good idea if I could look at my own. So I've got a very special guest here with me, so Cheryl, my partner.
Yeah. You poor thing.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health with relationships, because we're quite fun, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I am medicated at 200 milligrams of sertraline a day. You have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which presents with anxiety and depression. Both of us have, unfortunately, at some points gone into the self-harm route, but we've actually still managed to, even with all of that, form quite a good, stable relationship.
Yeah. And it's something that's often quite difficult, because you hear about all these one-sided relationships where one person's got the mental health condition, the other person doesn't, and the person who doesn't finds it harder in terms of supporting, and all sorts of things like that. It's often very challenging. So you'd think that with both of us having mental illnesses, it would be a lot harder.
You would, but I think sometimes it actually works to our advantage, because we've both got an understanding of what's going on with the other one, and we're more prepared to listen. And just take that time. I know quite a few people where, in married couples, where one is not suffering, one is. And like we've said a lot of times before on the website, if this isn't something you've ever experienced, it's very difficult to put yourself in the shoes of the person who is suffering. If you've been through it, it's different. You have got an idea. You may not know exactly what's going through that person's mind, but you've got at least an inkling, where if you are, like we say, in that more one-sided situation, one person is trying to support, the other is the one who is suffering, it can become very frustrating. It can cause relationship problems and breakdowns, unfortunately, because eventually it can become too great a burden to bear for some people. But that's one of the things that we kind of wanted to talk to everybody about, because I've had quite a few people say to me, this is a challenging relationship to put ourselves in. I have my issues, Alex has his, and I've got kids as well, just to kind of make it even more complicated.
Yeah.
But we are making it work, and have been for coming up nearly a year. You poor thing.
I know, it's scary.
It did help that we were friends before that, though. But even so, it's that very scary factor of, you are sometimes jumping into the unknown, and we've had times where it's been difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
But we wanted to kind of share with you guys some of the experiences that we've been through. Because even if you are on the, shall we say, the more one-sided side of things, there are still things that you can do. I mean, one of the biggest things is talk to each other, because you can't know what's going on in the other person's head.
No. But I suppose, if we look at a little bit of kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
Because, we all have the ups and the downs, and the good days, the bad days.
Yeah.
And usually we're quite good at, for want of a better word, but flip-flopping.
Yeah.
When you're on a bad day, I take over. When I'm on a bad day, you take over.
Yeah.
Not take over as in become a control freak, but actually just
support.
Yeah, pull a bit more, pull up the slack a bit more.
Yeah.
I think is what I'm trying to say. But then sometimes we have the fun instances when we're both on bad days, and
yeah,
it's interesting to deal with.
It is. It's quite hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Because
I get very snappish and grouchy when I'm on a bad day, and you get very kind of insular and you take things to heart.
Very much so, yeah.
And it's not a good combination when that happens, is it?
No.
And yet, we're normally able to sit down and talk it through and go, yeah, do you know what, wasn't quite me.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite you.
Yeah.
And work it through from there.
Yeah. That's why I think it's that comment of saying, talk about it. Sometimes you can't talk about it there and then.
No.
And we have had instances in the past where it's, you've been in that place where you're snappish, I'm in that place where I am taking the world personally, everything personally. And the best solution in those moments has been, I'm going to go off and do something else. You do what you're doing. We'll come back to this later. And okay, right there and then you may feel awful. We both usually feel awful in that moment.
Because you kind of want to sort it out, but you're not necessarily in the right place to do so.
No.
I think a couple of times I've turned around and said, no, I can't have this conversation right now, we've got to wait.
Yeah. And actually by waiting and coming back to it, more often than not, we've actually come back and sat down and gone, actually, this is okay. We can work through this. And it is about communication. It is always going to come down to that, talking things through with each other. Having those moments where you say, look, this is what's not working for me. What works for me is, and being honest about it. And I think, like a lot of people, we all have our own scars from previous relationships or, bad experiences. And they do make us behave in certain ways. But if those things that have happened to you in your past are what are contributing to your mental health condition, if they are a direct impact on how you behave in certain situations, but your partner doesn't know that, how can they help? Or how can either of you actually cope with that?
So what we're going to do is in just a few minutes after the break, we'll take you through some of the things that we find help with us, some of the tips, maybe even some of the tricks that we have, and try and couple those with a couple of examples if we can.
Yeah.
But I guess the bottom line is it can work.
It can.
Okay, sometimes it's difficult and you want to string them up by their ankles and hang them off a flagpole.
Yeah.
But
same goes for you.
Yeah. But it can work.
Yeah.
So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back and we'll talk about some of the tips and tricks that we have for how to manage in a relationship, be it with two people with mental health issues or one. You're listening to Pushing Back the Shadows. So when you're in that kind of situation, that relationship, be it whether you're the one struggling or whether you're the partner of the person struggling or whether you're both struggling, there are a couple of things that we've found, a couple of which we've mentioned already, that can really help in those situations. I mean, we kind of say it time and time again. We're almost like a broken record on this one. But talking things through, which will include a link to our Talking Things Through series, which does have quite a number of tips, doesn't it?
It does.
On how to get these conversations going. Because one thing that I always say is, how can we understand what's going through the other person's head? How can we understand how to help if we don't talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of give you an example, this was a while ago. Alex couldn't quite understand why in certain situations, say for example we were disagreeing over something, rather than actually argue or anything like that, I would actually go and shut myself away. And it wasn't even just sort of I'd go to another room and close the door. I would remove myself as much as possible from the situation. And for a long time, I don't think you really fully understood why I was doing that. No. And it was only after we sat down and started talking about it that, because I wasn't even aware that it was something I did, but it was a defence mechanism that I picked up from things that have happened in my past, where it was pointless getting into the argument because there was no way that it would ever be a discussion. It was just, I was always in the wrong. So I had developed this coping mechanism where I would literally I'd shut myself off, pretend like it's not happening almost. And it was quite an eye-opening moment for both of us to actually recognise that that's what I was doing. And it was quite, for me, it was quite profound because I hadn't realised how much I did that. You know, we would disagree, and rather than actually stand and talk about it, it would be, I'd walk off, or I'd literally go out the front door and off down the street and gone.
Yeah, which never helped me, was it?
Yeah.
Nothing's more frustrating when you're trying to sort something out and somebody keeps walking off.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's one thing that you've said a couple of times there that's important to point out, that you didn't realise kind of how much that you were doing it.
No.
We've had a few situations like that, haven't we, where we haven't realised that something's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a phase where I was raising my voice more.
Yeah.
Whether it was increased frustration or whether it was... this is mostly at the 4-year-old not doing what she's been told to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, for goodness sake, child, will you please do what I'm telling you? And you pointed it out, I hadn't even realised.
Yeah.
So that's the other...
Yeah, because at the time that was something that was triggering me quite seriously. And I was finding it very difficult to raise it as a subject. Because, again, there was that fear. But it was that moment of, we've got to talk about this. Something isn't right here. And I think a lot of it was because if we looked at it, we just moved into our new home. Then we'd had a lot of stress moving, getting furniture, all of that. And it had had an impact, probably on both of us. And we were all probably being very short-tempered with each other.
Probably. But it's an important thing, because I know I started by saying, talk, because otherwise how can you understand what's going on? But equally, talking to raise the issues, because the person that said issues are with might not even know that they're happening.
Yeah.
Another thing we've said is about, because I mentioned the kind of flip-flopping earlier, it's about, and this is one actually that needs to be looked at from both sides, kind of recognising as the person who's trying to be supportive at that point, recognising that your partner, your spouse, whoever, isn't on such a good day, and thinking, well, what can I do to kind of make that a little bit easier? I mean, okay, this is slightly by the by because it's not a mental illness, but you've sprained your wrist, haven't you?
Yeah.
And okay, it did have a bit of a knock-on effect because you called yourself more or less every name under the sun.
Yeah.
And I came alongside to help kind of get you back on your feet, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
It was impressive. I've never seen anybody fly quite as well as she did. But so recognising that you've kind of sprained your wrist, I've started doing, that day I cooked, I can't remember what I did, but the past couple of days I've been driving you over to work, picking you up again, because I recognised that while, okay, technically you can do, it's painful to drive, it's painful to do some of these other things.
Yeah.
And so in the same way, when we're having a bad day, maybe it's a lack of motivation, maybe there's just nothing there and we can't be bothered, or I don't know, however a bad day looks. It's about looking and thinking, well, okay, I can do this, I can do that, they've got to do this, but it's okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
Or even sometimes just that little bit of encouragement to make it a little bit easier, if that makes sense. For example, when Alex is on a day where he is really, really lacking in motivation on the website and is struggling to interact, doesn't want to interact, and just wants to go to his safe space, for want of a better word, or to find some sort of distraction to keep his mind from going into places he doesn't want it to go. Usually in those situations, the best thing for him is actually to go and play some video games. But then he starts beating himself up because you can't interact on the website. So I think it was my idea to start with, wasn't it? Take your tablet with you, do a little bit of interacting while you play your game. Okay, it's not as much, as you would do if you were sat at your desk, but it's some. And then to combine with that, I would take over, well, I have pretty much lately taken over doing a lot of the scheduling for the website, for Twitter, just to make that little bit easier. But then we split tasks between us, we move things across. There's days where I'm not so great at doing it, and it's, do you know what, I need some help, I can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of pick up from both sides, you know. I think part of having our own issues means we're better at recognising when the other person's not so good.
Yeah.
But then, and this is where the other side comes in, it's important for us as the sufferer on the bad day to recognise there and then as well when we're in a bad day.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to get smacked in a minute, I can tell you that much, but one thing we've noticed is you're not very good at letting me do a bit more. You know, for want of a better word, I watched her when I took her to work, trying to open the car door, and the look on her face as she's trying to use, because we're in England, you know, passengers on the left-hand side, and it's a left-hander that's sprained, so trying to open the car door was good fun. And the entire time, as I'm offering to drive, before that, she was saying, no, it's okay, I mean, I don't want to put you out, it's fine, I can do it. And I'm going, no you can't, I will do it, it's fine. And so sometimes we put up our own barriers, and we certainly don't help ourselves in terms of recognising when we're on the bad day. Because actually, if we're going to do that kind of that flip-flopping of, well, I'll do a bit more today because you're not so good, and so on, the problem comes when we don't let the other person do it.
Yeah. And
it's about, and this is something I talked about in this week's video, it's about being honest, not just with other people, but with ourselves as well, when we're on a bad day, when we can't do something. I mean, I think it was a couple of days ago, you were doing the scheduling. I was playing my game, and then I just came in and I wanted a hug.
Yeah.
Because for some unbeknownst reason I'd had not a full-blown panic attack, but a bit of a panic. And that's the thing, I could have just sat there and gone, oh, it's nothing, and left me to it. But instead, I kind of got up and I went, no, do you know what, I'm not good. I don't know why. I don't really know what I need, but we'll try something.
Yeah.
It's quite important.
It is important to do that. And, like you say, it can be very difficult to do that, because sometimes, like a lot of people, we don't like admitting that we're vulnerable or in not a great place. It's very difficult to allow yourself to drop those barriers, even with somebody you care about. And that doesn't matter how new or old your relationship is. It could be you've been with somebody 6 months, you could have been with them 60 years. People do still have those issues of showing vulnerability, and it can have a huge impact. And especially when it's your mental health that is part of this issue, it's important to let those people around you, and that's not just partners, I'm talking family, friends, everybody, if you can actually be a bit more honest with them about it, it can actually really help them. I mean, I was telling you the other day that I went, before I sprained my wrist, went swimming with my mum, and while we were there we were fine. I had quite a lovely swim, got 30 lengths in, really, and found it really very peaceful.
This is, for the record, first time she's been swimming in a long time, and she did 30 lengths on the first go.
Yeah, sorry.
Her mum didn't even manage one.
Yeah, well, but that's me. But I found it quite a meditative, very relaxing session of swimming. But then we were going home in the car, and my mum was asking, you know, how I'm doing, because obviously she knows I've been struggling, she knows what kind of issues I have. And I think it was one of the few times where I was very, very honest with her about how sometimes it feels. You know, those days where you literally feel like your heart's been ripped out your chest and you feel hollow and numb and awful and no motivation to do anything. And the fact that actually for me, recognising that I have through some of the counselling that I've had, that those feelings have been cropping up quite a lot throughout my life, even from being quite young. And I think that was a surprise for her to realise that this was something that has been there a really long time.
Mm.
And because I think a lot of people do sometimes go, well, oh, so and so, this happened to you, it made you have depression, you'll get better and you'll be fine again. Which does happen for some people. There is reactive and there's endogenous. But, there can be endogenous depression that continues on and on and on, but is actually flared up by events. Or, it doesn't even have to be one specific thing. It can be a culmination of a lot of different things going on. And that is something that, if people don't know, how can they help? And I think that was the big eye-opener for my mum, of actually recognising, okay, this is something we hadn't really ever talked about.
No. So it's important to talk.
Mm.
It's important to kind of be mindful of how both we and the other person is feeling. But then we need a few practical things as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, don't we?
Yeah.
So we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to look at some of the practical ways that you can support your spouse or your partner going through mental health.
Yeah.
You're listening to Pushing Back the Shadows. So, practical suggestions. I mean, we have done a series on this before.
Mm-hmm.
Different practical things that people can do. But some of the ones that we do
Yeah.
are definitely very effective.
Yeah.
I mean, and actually this first example that I can think of, I don't actually remember whether you've done it before or not. But one thing that was suggested to me, and this came from my dad, was when I was struggling to actually get myself motivated to get up and get out to work when I was working at the bank. It was a case of, well, alright, do it in stages, break it down. So, have a biscuit, put your shirt on, have a cup of tea, get your trousers on, have another biscuit. And okay, depending on how many things you've got to do, having a biscuit between each thing might not be the best idea.
Well, no.
No, because, okay, yeah, I'm one of these people who can probably eat half a packet of biscuits in one go, but...
Half a pack?
Why, yeah, I think I may have done a whole pack once or twice.
Yeah.
And by a whole pack, I'm talking like the big McVitie's chocolate digestives, But, things like that.
Yeah.
We can break it down into steps, and
Yeah.
I think we have done that a little bit, haven't we?
We do that quite a lot, actually. It's probably
Yeah.
more than you realise. I think one of the things that you can do, and this is actually quite good for people that are suffering with anxiety, and this because obviously we both have issues in this area. Say, for example, on Sunday we're going to a wedding.
We are.
And we're preparing, whether we like it or not, for that. So, for example...
Tell them why. Tell them why.
Because I've got to sing, and so's he.
Both got to sing. We're it's going to be great fun because it's for the second one night and one night only.
Yeah.
The guy that we're singing with, he and his wife, he keeps joking that it's like an ABBA tribute act.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 guys, 2 girls, but
Yeah.
it's not really.
Yeah, we don't sing any ABBA for a start.
No.
Yet. Yet, he's got plans, I'm sure.
He does.
But that's the thing, we've done things to prepare, and we've done them in plenty of time. I'll give you like the one example. I was asked to make some cakes, and rather than do last minute panic, I made them a few days ago and then froze them at my mum's, and I'm going to ice them tomorrow. I've set myself that time. I've also collected a multitude of outfits so that I've got options for what I can wear. My daughter, I've already planned what she's going to wear on Sunday, and I think you've kind of been mooching around. But then there's the
that
little...
does sound like... Yeah, that kind of sounds more like just preparing. But, you've done things in the middle.
Yeah.
You did, say, one batch of cakes, then went and watched a bit of 70s show, then you did another batch of cakes, and I think played a game with me.
And then did the rest the next day, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
And that was kind of rather than, because you kept saying you didn't really want to do them there and then.
No.
And yet we were able to, and it's a bit like, because yesterday we had the practice, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I spent the majority of the day actually doing, I was going to say doing nothing. That's not strictly true. I was writing.
Yeah.
You call it work, I call it pleasure, because it's my novels that I'm writing.
Yeah.
And okay, that wasn't technically what I should have been doing. I should have been working on the website, doing things like that. And yet it was more, I knew we were going to have company. I know that, I like to have a way out, don't I?
Yeah.
And when you've got people coming into your own home, it's a bit difficult to have that way out, because you can't really turn around and say, okay, right, that's it, you got to go now, bye-bye.
Yeah, it is hard.
So I made sure that I was, for want of a better word, rested enough.
Yeah. And I think that goes for a lot of things. It's that, in one way or another, but a kind of preparation, whether it's rested enough or just taking that time of, how do I want this day to go?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, on Sunday, how do I want that day to go? Well, I want it to go well for the people whose wedding it is, but I also want, for our perspective, for it to be calm and not hurried or rushed or panicking.
Hectic.
And so that's why a lot of the things that I've been preparing, I've been doing so far in advance, so that on that morning we can just get up, have some breakfast, get ourselves ready, and go. And that can actually play into a lot of things, especially, it doesn't matter whether it's just going to work or to school or college or whatever it is that you're doing, especially if it's both of you that are struggling, is that just 5 minutes the night before, doing a little bit of preparation. I mean, a lot of people find it quite amusing that the night before I hang up the entirety of my daughter's uniform on a hanger. And
pants and socks included.
Pants, socks, vest, everything. She has got everything on one hanger. But...
And bobbles, I believe, the ones.
Yeah, I did put the bobbles there as well. But it made it easier for us both the next morning, because, I mean, anybody out there who's got kids knows how difficult it is to get children out to school in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they're dragging their feet, or they can't find their shoes, or anything. And...
Can't find the shoes when they're right in front of her on the shoe rack.
Yeah, oh, we know. But it happens. And that's where that kind of little bit of preparation for things comes in.
Yeah.
Just taking those few minutes to just make life that bit easier. And it isn't always easy. We all forget. I mean, the other day I completely forgot to make myself any sandwiches for work. And so I was rushing off to work, going, I've got no lunch. What am I going to do?
But then, so there's the preparation and there's the breaking it down into steps.
Yeah.
But there are a few other things that can help as well.
Yeah.
Spontaneity can be quite a good one, can't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's after you've recognised that somebody's on a bad day.
Yeah.
But just kind of randomly, whether it's, get them a bar of chocolate or make them a cup of tea, doing those things that they haven't asked for. And that's not kind of to say that it's not unwanted, because sometimes, I mean, especially if you're English, you could murder a good cup of tea. But it's kind of that, not only is it that nice gesture of, well, here you go, here's a hot drink, or I sound like Sheldon Cooper, you're upset, hot beverage, or something, a little sweet like chocolate, or it's that, well, I know you're not on a good day, so here you go, I've thought of you, you're not having to come to me
to say you need help.
I'm thinking of you, here you go. And okay, yeah, you could argue it's just a cup of tea, but it's a sign that you've actually realised things aren't so good, thought of them, and gone to do something for them.
Yeah. That also, it's a relationship advice, full stop, for anybody, is when you're with somebody and you're involved with somebody, it's nice to let them know, full stop, that you think of them.
Oh, yeah.
But, especially when somebody is struggling with mental health issues, it can be very easy to kind of just take people for granted. So, I mean, you've had it a few times. I've gone off to work, I've left you in bed, but you'll wake up to a messenger message.
Yeah.
Say, you know, morning, hope you slept well, whatever it is. And we forget things like that.
Either morning you've slept well, or, oh no, I've forgotten to do this, could you please do this?
And then love you at the end of it. But yeah. But it can be just those little gestures, little things that can make a big difference. The other side of it is also, and this is something that I think has become quite important for us, is making time to do things together.
Yeah.
That you both enjoy.
Ticket to Ride.
It's
Ticket
a brilliant
to Ride
game.
all the way. I got it for my birthday and we absolutely love it, don't we? Yeah. And your mum likes it too. We've got to get her to come round and play it again.
Yeah. I mean, we're quite lucky because we have a few things that we enjoy doing together. We both like singing. Well, you play guitar and I can't.
Well, no, you can't play guitar, but you can sing.
And we play games together.
Yeah, Xbox games, board games.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the record, if I ever do any kind of live stream with the Forza Motorsport when she and I play, I do still get in a car afterwards, but sometimes it is a very close run thing. And also it's important when we're doing those things to have a laugh as well.
Yeah.
I mean, playing Diablo 3 and I'm standing there surrounded by enemies, you know, getting blasted, and you run off in completely the other direction, effectively locking me in place because I cannot move up, because for those of you who don't know, it's kind of you're sharing the same screen, it's not split screen or anything, and say if one person's going left and the other's going right, it's going to just keep the screen stationary, it's not going to move. And so she'd gone off somewhere else and I'm there going, I'm dying over here, help, move, I can't get away, come on! But it's those kinds of things where you have fun.
Yeah,
you're practically making time, and sometimes it's, for want of a better word, making that blanket fort type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I've actually made you a couple of blanket forts, but
and they were awesome.
Knowing that, say, video games are my escapism, instead of saying, well, okay, let's go for a walk, let's do this, let's do that, you know, things that you know work for you, you actually come alongside and go, well, all right then, can I join in?
Yeah.
And so that's coming into their blanket fort.
Coming into that person's world a little bit.
Yeah.
But then also, it's sometimes doing things together that are perhaps a little bit uncomfortable for both of you. So, for example, you know, the fact that we're singing on Sunday, both of us with issues with anxiety, but we've done this a few times now, quite a few times now actually, and it's been one of those things that's actually really helped us because we get to do these things together, and we, you know, each of us know, I know exactly that there are things that Alex will get nervous about, there will be things that I'm getting nervous about, but we're there and we're doing it together, and we can have a little bit of fun with it as well, because you usually tease me over something that I say or do or have done while we're there, but it's making those little bits of connections.
Yeah.
And
taking time to appreciate each other. Yeah.
And doing little things like, you know, occasionally go out for dinner. Okay, it's not always easy, especially if you've got kids.
Yeah.
But it's doable, and also it can be expensive, but club card vouchers are a wonderful thing.
They are.
And you can make, you know, just that time to just be the two of you. And it's those little things that can actually make that battle against your mental health problems that little bit easier.
Well, speaking of time, that's all the time we've got for today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be mean. I'm going to put Cheryl on the spot, and she's going to do the next little bit.
Okay. Well, all it is, obviously, I mean, if you enjoy what we're doing here at PBTS, we do rely on the support of our patrons, and we would love anybody who's listening to this, if you're not already involved, become involved. It helps us continue the work that we do. Now, I mean, obviously, thank you so much to the top patrons that we've got. So Louise, Luce, Samantha, Cheryl, Yeetsun, Shirley, Tamara and Alex. We cannot do what we do without you guys. But like I'd say, you know, for all of those you out there who listen and enjoy what we're doing, why don't you join them? You do actually get quite a few benefits from doing it. It's really fantastic way of keeping us supported, but it also brings you some fantastic benefits as well, even if it's just to hear the crazy outtakes from us pair.
Yeah, because there are often a few, aren't there?
Yeah, just a few. But you do also get exclusive sneak peeks of things, sometimes even just exclusive content that we do things just for our patrons. And it's so wonderful and gratifying to hear back from them how much they enjoy that. So if it's something you're interested in, please follow the link.
Yeah, it's all in the description, and more information will be coming up in the next soundbite. Alright, you guys take care, and I shall definitely catch you next week, hopefully with my returning special guest, assuming she agrees to that, but we shall see.
Well, you never know, we could carry on with part 2.
Alright guys, you take care. You've been listening to Pushing Back the Shadows. To find out more, head over to pushingbacktheshadows.com and hit subscribe to get all of our latest updates straight to your inbox. Alternatively, connect with us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/AlexDavisPBTS, or you can visit us on Twitter at AlexDavisPBTS. Enable Pushing Back the Shadows to continue supporting people in the mental health community, their friends and their family. By pledging just $1 a month, you could help us to continue supporting people with depression, with anxiety, with bipolar and other mental illnesses. You can also unlock exclusive rewards, behind the scenes, sneak previews of upcoming posts and much, much more. So head over to www.patreon.com/AlexDavisPBTS to find out more.